Welcome back to Design Bundle's YouTube channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Crystal. Today we are going to be comparing a bigger industrial style heat press to a more smaller craft heat press. So which one is going to be right for you? Let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so let's first go over, obviously, the elephant in the room, if you will, is how big an industrial style heat press is. Now this is a 16 by 20, but it's really not that much bigger than a 15 by 15. I mean, it is per se. And the reason why you would want to go for a 16 by 20 like I have here is if you do plan on doing bigger projects like blankets and things like that, or maybe if you're going to do some bigger signs, those are kind of things to consider right out the gate. But the most common size is going to be a 15 by 15, but it's going to look very similar to this. Number one, they are super big and they're super heavy. So when you go to purchase one, make sure you have a spot that is designated. Something like this is not like you can just take it from the kitchen table to the craft room, back and forth. They are super heavy. So you really want to purchase it knowing exactly where it's going to go in your home or in your office or business, etc. Now, there's other things to consider too besides, do you have a small business? Do you have a big business? Are you just a crafter making a few t-shirts? So that's something to consider as well. But if you are going to be purchasing one, like I said, definitely make sure that you have the proper table. Make sure it's not one of those cheap craft tables because it's going to definitely give it some weight. These things are very heavy. This one in particular is 95 pounds. And so something like this is super lightweight and you can even store it in a cabinet. So definitely keep that in mind when you go to purchase one. Also, make sure you read lots and lots of reviews. If there's one that has obviously been out there on the market for years, you know that it's a good one. You can kind of read through reviews. Always be careful about buying a brand new heat press that is just came to the market that doesn't really have a name. For example, there's tons of them on Amazon because they aren't really built to last a super long time. There's always going to be quirks where they're super wobbly and kind of, a little bit I don't know how to explain it, but your base is going to be a little shifty, your top's going to be a little loose and things like that. They're not always going to be 100% perfect because obviously you're getting them for a steal. Now, if you're just starting out and you definitely want to start with like a $200 press, you can definitely do that. Now, there is a lot of them that I recommend. I'll have a few of those linked down below that you can get your foot in the door for around $500 and stuff like that. So definitely consider those before you just jump right into a more generic $200 press. So those are things I like to consider when it comes to a big heat press. Now, with your craft press, there's several of them out on the market. It's not just Cricut. They're not the only one, but Cricut is a name that we do know. So we know that it's going to have been tested and all of those things. So that's things to consider. Now, the difference that I would say for a craft press here is to think about. If you're just making a few t-shirts and tote bags and all of those things, you may want to consider just going straight to a craft press, especially if you don't have the space and you don't have a proper spot to really put a heat press. And also if you're just now getting into it, even if you have a small business, but you don't know whether it's going to be something that's going to work, I would definitely gear towards your more craft press. Now you can get these in tons of different sizes, all the way down to a little bitty mini one, even all the way to a 10 by 12. Now, whenever it comes to choosing one of these, it just depends on what size product are you putting this on. Are you putting this on tote bags? Are you doing baby onesies or, toddlers and youth t-shirts, small adults? You could possibly just get away with a 9 by 9 right away. Now, if you plan on doing more adult t-shirts and you're going to get into those mediums, larges, all the way to maybe a 5X t-shirt, you may want to consider going straight to the 10 by 12 because you can still do all the way down to a baby onesie, tote bags, and all of those things by using pressing pillows. So those are things to consider with the craft press. The craft press, like I said, is going to be so easy to store. You're going to have your base, so this is going to prevent any sort of burning or putting this obviously direct contact to your work surface. This has little air holes here to keep it nice and ventilated, so it's not just direct heat going to your work surface, like I said. So you're going to have these two pieces here. But it's so easy to store. You could leave it on the counter because it looks elegant, or once again, you can put it underneath. Now, unlike the bigger heat press, I can definitely go from the kitchen to my my craft room, I can even load this in the car where you can't just load this up. So if I'm a teacher and I want to take it to the classroom, or I'm going to take it to a fair and I'm customizing products on the spot, this is something to consider. Now, even with a small business and a big business, you may want to consider a craft press because, once again, going to, for example, like a fair or working directly at a booth, you can make things right on the spot. You can customize those. So also, if, for example, I was doing a bunch of glitter and I had that high heat, but I'm only doing one, like a Caesar everyday HTV, I could gear this up, get that t-shirt done, but keep this heat consistent. So those are things to consider too. But the difference is going to be, you know, a few things. You're going to have to purchase a pad here unless you purchase a brand that comes with them. Once again, there is other brands out there on the market and some of them come with a pad. Well, the Cricut does not. You have to consider that you will have to purchase this separate. You definitely can get away with using a towel. So you can use like a bath towel to get away with this as well, but you may want to invest in this, and you can usually grab these for around $20. So you are going to need a pressing pad, and you want to get the proper size that's going to go with your press. There's different sizes on the market. So you're going to have that. You're going to have your little base where your bigger heat press comes with your pad. Now, sometimes these pads are built into the press. They're just automatically attached here, and some of them are removable because of the materials. So for example, if I was pressing wood, like a really thick wood plaque, for example, I could always pop this guy out of here. So there's several reasons why they're attached and they're not attached. So when it comes to a bigger press, another thing to consider is different models. So for example, this one here is an auto press. So when I close it down, it's going to stay down on its own. I'm not having to hold it or anything like that, but most of the presses are going to hold down, but then you're going to have to open them up. So as soon as it beeps, you're going to have to grab it and lift it up. Where this one, it's going to pop open on its own. So those are things to consider too. And this one is not that bad. I want to say this one's around $700 for an auto press, which is not bad. Usually those you're looking at least $1,500 minimum. So for example, this press right here, it's a great way to get your foot in the door if you want something with an auto. Now, why do you say an auto? Because say I could continue to work. So I can be prepping up my next shirt and I'm not having to worry about running back over there and lifting that in time so I'm not burning the t-shirt or over pressing or anything like that. So now another thing about it is with the auto, if I close this here and I decide I only want to do the 2-second, I can push this button and it's going to pop back open, restart that timer. So those are things to consider as well. They're just super nice. Those are the bells and whistles that you can get with those. Now, whenever it comes to the craft press, what are the bells and whistles that you can do? You know, recently, Cricut has upgraded to the Cricut Easy Press 3, which now can run off your phone. So you can download what's called the Cricut Heat app. And what that's going to do is it's going to send your settings directly to your heat press. And then you're going to be able to have, you know, you could do custom settings, or if you choose the particular product, say for example, I was using Cricut Iron-On, it's automatically going to give me that 5-second pre-press for my t-shirt. Then it's going to automatically switch over to the 30 seconds press. And then it's automatically going to switch over to that 15 seconds for flipping. So speaking of flipping, whenever it comes to the Cricut Easy Press or a craft press, it is recommended to flip your garment and press for another 15 seconds. For example, with a craft press, my temperature is around 315 for 30 seconds, plus the additional 15 seconds we got to do on the back, which means it's going to take me 45 seconds every time I'm pressing just even everyday iron-on. Say, for example, it's even higher than that. Say it's, you know, if it's going to be say I've got to press something for 40 seconds, you're just continuing to add on there. But say around 45 seconds on average is what you're going to be doing with a craft press, as well as having it at 315. Whenever it comes with the bigger heat presses, you're looking around 305, depending on the brand or material, 305 to 310 for your heat, and then you're looking around 10 to 12 seconds. So I went from 45 seconds to 10 to 12, and it's the same thing. If I'm going to do a tack down in between, because whenever you layer, you want to tack down, you would do 2-second tack down and a 2-second tack down. So those would stay the same, depending on the brand. For example, I have found that Cricut brand needs around a 5-second tack down. So you are looking at a difference with how high you need that temperature to complete the t-shirt, and you're also how long. So you're 10 seconds, 45 seconds. Also, another thing is pressure. With this, you're going to have to give the pressure. So where this automatically has our pressure built in, you're going to be able to adjust it here. So you would turn your knob here and you would be able to adjust that pressure, let it down and bring it up. So if something tells me I need light pressure, medium pressure, or heavy pressure, I can do that here and then it's automatically going to do it. For example, with this one, I'm going to have to figure out that pressure. So I may have to put more body weight into it if I need medium to heavy pressure. Whereas once again, that's doing it for us. Light pressure, when Cricut says light pressure, you're basically putting it on there and you're just have your light hand on it. I'm not really pushing, I'm just giving some light hand to it. Where medium, I'm needing to kind of really push down, and then heavy, of course, which you're pushing on your body for 45 seconds, or depending on, say for example, if I was sublimating with this guy and I have it at 385 for 40 to 60 seconds, I'm really having to do those things. So that's something to consider as well, is this is going to do all your pressure for you as well. So lots of different things to consider. So let's go ahead and gear both of these up. This is already set for us. This one here, whenever you go to set your settings, you're just going to kind of hold your hand a little bit to get to your screen, depending on each one. They're all different. You're going to be able to hit your settings and then adjust, you know, your settings as well as your time and all of that. So I've already got this guy going for us, and I have it set around 312, and then I've got it set for, I think I got it set around 12 seconds is what I've done. Now, I'm going to do a tack down on both of them because I've got two colors. So what we're going to go ahead and do here is we are going to recreate this t-shirt here. So if you guys did not know, I actually make my own t-shirts and hoodies and sweatshirts and all of that stuff because number one, I get to pick the t-shirt is going on because everybody has a different style. So for example, these are the comfort color. They're one of my absolute favorites. I like the way they feel. And then I also want to point out in today's tutorial is placement. I also talk about 2 to 3 fingers down from the neckline. As you guys can see, this is quite a ways down from where I normally tell you. That's depending on the design, and I wanted to talk about that today because I don't think I talk about it enough. So if I have a design like this, I'm going to want to start that design up here. Whereas if I just have a logo, you're going to want to really center that on your chest, because if not, I have this, it's going to be right up here, which I'm sure you have seen. Whether it's even at your local stores, I have seen it done by many, many people, and I've even done it myself. So you really want to kind of center that up, and what I have found is 4 inches is perfect. So that's what I'm going to show you today. All right, so let's start with the bigger press. Now, the way that I do this, because I'm a perfectionist whenever it comes to the bigger press, as you go along, you're going to figure out, you know, what works best for you. But for me, I like to line everything up off of the press. Now, I've already pre-pressed. So whether you're using the Cricut or the big press, you're going to want to press for around 5 to 15 seconds. Now, since I've already have this set for 12 seconds, I just drop it down and let it auto. So I'll just pre-press for 12 seconds. And then the Cricut, I do 5 to 15, like I said. So you want to pre-press. Once again, I've already done that. I've re-wrinkled, but I promise I have pre-pressed these. So what I do is I take it down and I find my adjustments here. I don't really like to do it on the heat press because when you have this on there, for example, I'm going to have to layer 2 pieces. I may get this one straight and I may think the t-shirt's straight and I'm going to put the next piece and it's actually going to be off, especially for something straight like this. If it's a design that we're layering, say for example, I was doing a flower. I could tell the flower and I'm layering those pieces, that's fine. But when you're working with something that's straight, I prefer to take it back off the press and do it from here. So whenever I'm doing this, I like to, I've already got my designs here. I'm going to go ahead and get a pair of scissors and cut these down. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these. So when I do these t-shirts here, I print out a bunch of them at the same time. So if you were doing your logo, you would do the same thing. And I actually keep them in a drawer. So whenever I need another one, I'm already ready to go. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and trim down this one here. So these are going to have to line up. So what I do is I figure out which one is going to go down first. Which one am I keeping? So whichever one you're going to keep on the t-shirt first, you want it to be the bottom, okay? That bottom stick. So if I was going to start with this side, I want this to be on the bottom stick. So whenever I'm going to peel this, this is going to peel away easy. So always remember that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and line these guys up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drop the camera down while I get this so you guys can really see what I'm doing. Now what I like to do, say for example, I'm using the Cricut ruler here. I come down 4 inches, which I could flip this around so you guys can see. I come down to that 4 inches. I'm going to get it centered. I figure out where the center of my design is, center of my t-shirt is. And then I get that ruler just like that, really straightening it out. Then I'm going to take this once again. I'm going to be putting down the white first. So I'm going to kind of line up my blue here. Trying to get those absolutely perfect just so I can really figure out that placement. All right, and if I'm off a little bit, I can fix that whenever it comes time. So just kind of getting that lined up there. Once I have these two pieces connected, I'm still going to go ahead and fold it in half so I can figure out that center. So now I've got that crease mark, and I'm going to come down 4 inches here. So this is my 4 inches, and then this line, because I have this in the center, I'm going to be able to drop this down right here. Okay, kind of eyeballing it. Once I do that, then I'm going to go ahead and lift it up, hold the t-shirt, and double check that it looks okay. So then at that point, like I was saying, I would go ahead and pick the t-shirt up and kind of look at it. So I actually hold it out in front of me like so, and it's trying to shift on me, so I'm going to hold that back down. So I'd actually hold it out in front of me like this and then look at it. Make sure everything's looking straight. If you really want to get precise, you can take that ruler again, and then you can go from one side to the next. I've got about 5.5 inches there. And then I've got about 5 inches there. So I may need to shift it over just a teensy tiny bit. So I'll just kind of do that, shift it over, double check it again, just making sure everything looks good. Once I'm happy with it, now you see that was on top, it was easy to peel off. We'll get it out of our way. So now we're going to go ahead and take this to the press. Also with these presses, some of them come with drawers, which is really nice. So this one does come with a drawer. It's easy to pull out. So that way I'm not risking burning myself. I'm not getting too close to this. Also, there is swing-aways. So instead of opening it this way, which is called a clamshell, you'd actually swing it over to the side, and that way it would be completely out of your way. All right, so now we're ready to load it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this on here. Whenever I do this, I'm making sure to avoid that neckline on here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get this like so, and there we have it. All right, so now I'm just gonna push it in. I'm gonna close it. Now I'm doing the 2 seconds. So 1, 2, I'm gonna push the button so it pops back open on us. And then once again, I don't like to add my design here if it's straight line like that. I just don't. Some people, once you have it down, you definitely can. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to peel this like so. And then we are going to now add our next design. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up here. Looks good. And then I'm going to go ahead and replace that other piece back on to protect it. So now we're going to go back to the press. We're going to reload it again. Very carefully get this on here. There we go. We're going to close it, and this time we're going the full 12 seconds. Let me double check that I did switch my cameras. Okay, we're good. All right. All right, so here we go. You notice it popped open on its own. Pull it back open, and we're going to remove it just like that. All right, there you have it. So now all we simply have to do is peel these, and that's it. Easy peasy, we're done with our t-shirt. Now, once again, you can see we came down that 4 inches, so you're gonna get it perfect here. So if we came 2 to 3 fingers down, it would be way up here, and you don't want that. So always hold your t-shirt up, really get the feel of it, and see what you think. But there you have it. So that's how easy it is to use your standard heat press. Now, once again, once you get the feel of it, you may not necessarily have to design it off of your press. And if I was doing a bigger design and layering, I definitely would do it right there on the press. So there is our t-shirt with a press. All right, so now let's press one using the Cricut Easy Press 3. Now, if you had the Cricut Easy Press 2 or another brand, you would simply just turn it on, you would set your time and temp, and you would be ready to go. But we're gonna be using that heat press guide. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop the camera down so I can show you how to use it. All right, so here is our heat press guide. So what we're gonna do is hit start a new project. We're gonna go to transfer material. Now I am using Caesar, but you can use everyday light iron-on. It's the exact same settings for Cricut. And then we're gonna choose that we're putting it on a 100% cotton t-shirt. So now we're gonna hit next. It's telling us we need to have our press at 315. We're gonna do a 5-second pre-press, 30-second press, and a 15-second flip. And then we're gonna peel cold. But mine is obviously Caesar, so I'll peel hot. So we're gonna go ahead and hit send settings. So it's gonna do the Bluetooth here. I've already got it turned on, so it's doing its thing. You wanna make sure you have it turned on when you send it. And then as you guys can see from the heat guide, it's got its exact temperature. It's telling us it's going to take 1 minute to get this to temp, which is awesome because before we could not tell how much longer it was going to take to get there. So now we can do that. That's super cool. And then it's starting with that 5-second pre-press. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside and let's start getting ready. So what we're going to do here is we are going to get this guy ready. Now, whenever it comes to pre-press, you do not have to have it all the way at the that 315. You can do that anytime. So we're going to go ahead and press this. You just want to make sure you're doing this. Let me get my cord here. Hold on. Hold on. Trying to make sure I get this so I can get a little bit of room. You just want to make sure that you are pre-pressing where your design is going to be. So I kind of just wiggle mine around, or you can just, you know, hold it from one side to the next. All right, so that looks good to me. Set that guy back out of our way. So we've done our pre-press. So now I'm going to make sure that my t-shirt, hold on, back that out. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my t-shirt's nice and straight, and I'm going to make sure I center it this. Now, usually I go by my neck tag, but you can tell when a neck tag is off center, and this one is. So I'm really paying attention to the middle here. You can always fold your t-shirt in half and then press it. So once you get it perfectly in half, you could go ahead and press. So I'm going to press right here on the seam. This is where I'm focusing on. I'm going to give it a little bit of pressure just to find that center. So now when I unfold this, hopefully you guys can see that on camera. I know sometimes it's a little hard with that lighting. I actually have a line here which is telling me exactly where my center is. Okay, so I'm just making sure the top of my t-shirt's lined up there, because I've got my pad under here a little bit crooked. So we're going to do that exact same thing. I'm going to line up my design here. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and link you guys today to some really nice font bundles that you guys can use to create your very own logos. So I'm going to go ahead and do that today. Okay, so that way you guys can have those if you guys are wanting to get into creating your very own logo. All right, so once I have that, once again, I can fold this in half and figure out about where I want it to go. Now, I can bring back in my ruler and do the same thing. So making sure that's centered, coming down to that 4 inches and lining it up like so. There we have it. So now just making sure it's straight, just like that. Then I'm gonna have to adjust my design here in just a second, but I'm just making sure the word bundles is pretty straight. Once again, I can check my sides here to make sure I'm pretty even, and I am. So once you're happy with it, we're gonna go ahead and scoot this guy out of the way. Now, a question I get all the time is, do we need to cover this with parchment paper or anything like that, Teflon sheet? No, because this carrier sheet that's on here, this plastic, is your protection barrier. So we're gonna go ahead and put it. Now, once that's removed, we would wanna do that. Now, I forgot to hit the button for that 5-second tack down when I did that, so we're gonna push it just so it'll go away. And now it should change to the 30 seconds. You guys see that there? So now we're ready. Now I'm doing a 2-second tack down. So I'm gonna stop it on my own, just like that. And then we're gonna go ahead and peel this. Once again, I'm using Caesar, so this is a warm or hot pill. You can see I can peel that right away. Keep this, don't get rid of it. We're gonna set it aside. Now we're gonna go ahead and come into our design here, pull in our design bundle, designbundles.net, if you will. And then we are going to go ahead and pop this on top. So now I'm protecting both of these again. Don't need a parchment, don't need any of that. As long as you can keep this piece here and put it back on top, you're good to go. Now this time I'm pressing the whole thing. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn mine a little bit to the side so that way I can stretch it across, and then I'm going to hit go. So this time I'm doing the full 30 seconds. And then once we're done with this, we're going to have to flip it for an additional 15 seconds. And as you guys can see with your Heat app, it's straight on your phone as well. So you're going to get all those settings. It's automatically going to update here as well. So that's really cool in itself. Okay, so we're done. We're going to lift it, and then we're ready to peel. Now, if you're using Cricut brand, they recommend that you let it cool down, but because I am using Caesar, we're going to go ahead and peel it. Now, if you do have any pieces trying to come up with you, you can go ahead and give it another second or so. It definitely does not need more heat. It just needs another second or so to cool down. Now, once again, I've showed you guys this little hack in the past. You can definitely take the end of a pair of scissors and kind of rub that down just a little bit. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and peel. So as you guys could see there, we definitely did not need to add more heat to this. So here we have it. Love it. Now we're not done. We have to press for another 15 seconds. So we're gonna go ahead and flip it over. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and press here. Now, according to Cricut's recommendations as well. They also leave the plastic. So you could, instead of peeling that carrier sheet before I flip it, you can just flip it, press it again, and then peel your carrier sheet. So you can definitely do it that way as well. All right, there we have it. So it changed to 15 seconds, and we got that 15-second peel. And there you have it. We have pressed our second t-shirt using the Cricut Easy Press. So I've accomplished the exact same t-shirt, the exact same design with both presses. So ultimately, you can get away with not only using them with HTV, iron-on, you can also sublimate with both of them. Now, speaking of sublimation, I also want to point out that, for example, if I was pressing coasters, it's so easy to have my coasters and go right on top and press. Whenever it comes to a clamshell, I'm going to need to adjust my top platen here so that way it's going to float on top of it. So it's best whenever it comes to a standard heat press here to use a swing away for things like that, like your wooden plaques. There's certain things a clamshell heat press cannot do where you're gonna need that swing away. So that's another thing to consider. If those are things you're gonna get into, for example, sublimating wood plaques that are nice and thick, you wanna go with a swing away, which is gonna be able to do everything. It's just one of those things to consider right away as well. So I wanted to go ahead and touch base on that. Now, before we go, I want to mention that if you guys have not already joined our Facebook community group, make sure you guys definitely check that out. It is so much fun. We do giveaways over there. We have freebies, lots of fun things going on, and tons of inspiration. We have hundreds of thousands of crafters over there, so you're going to see tons and tons of fun stuff. So make sure you guys check it out, as well as all of our other social medias. You can find us on Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok, and all of the things. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the like button down below and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.